I went through all like 2,000 of the bills that have been filed for this state legislative session in Tallahassee in 2026. Here are the 10 most interesting ones that I think that you should know about so that you don't have to spend hours and hours reading them like I did. First things first though, there is no bill to eliminate property taxes in the state of Florida just yet. That's a big initiative of this guy, Governor Ron DeSantis. But he has his qualms with the legislature who are not sure they love him in his second term, even though they're all Republicans. So stay tuned. First most interesting bill, and the one that I think is least likely to pass, is Senate Bill 59. It's filed by Fort Lauderdale Senator Darrell Campbell, and it would require women to have a pregnancy test administered to them if they are not released within 72 hours of arrest. This would also make some provisions for those same women to delay their sentencing or their jail time after a conviction in order to have that child or when their pregnancy ends. Next one up, and one that's definitely not going to pass, is Senate Bill 708. It was filed by the state senator Lori Berman from South Florida. She is the minority leader for the Democrats in the state Senate, and for that reason alone, it's probably not going to pass, but it also tells us a lot about what the Democrats are trying to do in this legislative session. This bill would essentially require the state government to put together a database that shows every single person that's been arrested or detained that is not in this country legally or has documents to be in this country, and make it publicly available to everyone. 0 out of 10 chance this passes. The next bill, House Joint Resolution 205 by Juan Carlos Porras, a Republican from down in the peninsula. I also don't think this one's going to pass because it is all about property taxes. He wants to eliminate all property taxes for seniors over the age of 65. It's not going to pass because Ron DeSantis, of course, the governor, has his own plan, which would do potentially a lot more. So I don't think they're going to put a lot of time into this one with so many more powerful players wanting to do different things. Jumping in the middle of this list to tell you that you should check out Niceville Family Dental. They'll keep your teeth healthy, clean, and it's a great experience too. So check them out, Niceville Family Dental off of Palm Boulevard. The next one up is House Bill 31, which will require all Florida state government documents to call the area that's now called the West Bank, right here, Judea and Samaria. And it's red meat for the base kind of thing, but it also, I don't think, has a whole lot of chance to pass because there's just so many other things that the Republican legislature wants to do this session. Next bill up is by Crestview area Senator Don Gates. That's Senate Bill 126. Florida Power and Light, of course, gets its rates set by a state commission, so they have to go in front of the government and say, this is how much we want to charge. This bill would require the state to make sure that they only make a certain amount of profit, so 5 or 6%, something like that, that's tied with, I think, the 10-year Treasury note, which means that they wouldn't be able to make 20, 30% profit over a year. Big deal for a big company, and it may mean lower rate increases if it were to pass. I think that the Florida Power and Light has a huge lobby in Tallahassee, so they have a lot of people to fight this. But if anybody can get something this big done, it's probably Don Gates. He's been Senate president before. He's been in the state Senate for a long time. The guy knows how to play hardball. If anybody can do it, it's him. House Bill 193 by brand spanking new State Representative Nathan Boyles, who has all of a month in the legislature because he got elected in a special election, is pretty ambitious. He wants to put a bunch of regulations on solar farms. You may remember that earlier this year, 2025, in Holt, there was a big washout from a solar farm after heavy rains, caused a lot of damage in the Wilkerson Bluff area, and that's near his house. This is going to be really, really interesting to see how much juice he can get behind this. He has 3 total bills in this state legislative session, and this will tell us just how powerful he's getting. The next one, also by Nathan Boyles, that I think has a punter's chance of making it, is an accountability scorecard for judges. And if you know anything about judges, they don't like being told how well or not well they're doing their jobs. Just watch court TV, I guess. But this bill essentially would say how many cases they have, what the clearance rate, how many cases they get through, what's causing delays, stuff like that is all going to be on a potential scorecard if it passes the state legislature. Again, a lot of people that may not love this idea, specifically in the judiciary. This would be for local judges and circuit judges. Punter's chance. House Joint Resolution 27 would also have a lot of local effects here, especially on longtime politicians in our area. It would set a term limit for local county officials, so school board members and county commissioners, a total of 12 years on a cap, and then they would have a cooling off period, and then they could potentially run again. You might guess, people may not love this if they're longtime politicians, people with 12 years or more on the county commission, people that are running for re-election this term like Trey Goodwin or Carolyn Ketchel. They're both at their 12-year mark and technically wouldn't be able to run again. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a little bit of an affordable housing crisis here in Florida, and that's why this bill, Senate Bill 48, also by Crestview State Senator Don Gates, doing work on this list so far this year. He wants to preempt local governments from making decisions about accessory dwelling units. So think like mobile homes that you might add on a property or a mother-in-law suite, something like that. It would stop local governments from banning those. And this is his idea to make Florida's housing more affordable. If you live in Niceville, you know that the city has had multiple debates over these. Valparaiso's had the same thing. I'm sure other cities have as well. I think this has a pretty good chance of passing because of how critical the affordable housing crisis is here right now. So stay tuned on this one. I think it's going to make big waves in the state legislature in 2026. Finally, the most interesting bill, and the one that I think is the only one filed by a Democrat that has any chance of passing, is House Bill 6007. And that's because it's aligned with some of the governor's goals. It's really interesting because it's tourism money. So we all hear about tourism tax development dollars and how it gets wasted or it gets spent on different stuff or it's for marketing and we can't use it for certain things. This would eliminate all of those red strings. This would make it so that we could use tourism development tax money on roads and bridges and the sheriff's office and anything else we wanted. It would essentially just remit all that money to whatever the local or state officials want to use it for. Now, as you can probably guess, the tourism industry is not thrilled about this, and they're a pretty big lobby in Tallahassee, so there's a lot of strength that could come and stop this thing. But this is a bill filed by Anna Escamani, who's a Democrat from the Orlando area, Orange County area, and Governor DeSantis, a Republican, has said, you know what, I think this is a really good idea. He's talked about it multiple times, not specifically this bill by Representative Escamani, but he's talked about using tourism development funds instead of property taxes, and for that reason, I think that this one has a real chance of passage. So what do you think? Have you been watching any of these? Do you have any other suggestions for bills that you think are really interesting that we should be covering, or ones that you think are likely to pass, or ones that you think are completely nuts? I mean, there's like 2,000 of these, so I could have missed one. But these are the 10 that I really think are interesting, and I hope that you guys will take some note on these. You can go to the Florida House of Representatives website and get automatic updates from them, or you can follow our stuff, midbaynews.com. We'll be updating you guys throughout the legislative session as well. For now, Christopher Saul, Midbay News.